This is a true story, for divers finished their dive underwater. When they returned to the boat, they found one person missing, so they quickly called for help. However, unexpectedly, when the rescue team found the missing person underwater, they discovered a knife stuck in his chest. How could someone disappear underwater and suddenly be stabbed? This incident happened on the night of September 10, 2002, in Croatia. At that time, 5 people decided to go diving together for fun. Someone mentioned there was a cave underwater, but one guy said that diving into the cave was too dangerous. He was too afraid, so around 9 p.m., the other 4 put on their diving gear and entered the sea. They quickly found the entrance to the cave. The cave is roughly divided into 4 sections. The entrance is shaped like a chimney, so it's called the chimney area. On the right, there's a complex area called the passage. The area below is the deep cave area. As they dove deeper into the chimney area, they found that this chimney was much larger and deeper than they had imagined. Halfway down, the group decided to abandon the cave exploration because their current equipment was unsuitable for diving to such depths. So they made a few hand signals to each other and immediately returned the same way. Since the area outside the cave was relatively safer, they soon separated to enjoy their own time. Soon as their oxygen was about to run out, they each returned to the boat. Someone noticed something wrong. Why hadn't Kukris come up yet? Based on the timing, his oxygen tank should have run out by now. Decided to go back down to search for him. They changed to new oxygen tanks and went to search for Kukris. They searched around outside the cave, so they returned to the boat. They took a guide line and went back into the cave. Now they suspected that Kukris might have sneaked back into the cave alone. With the guide line, they didn't have to worry about getting lost in the cave. The shallow cave area was very large and pitch dark, making it difficult to search. After finishing the search in that area, so they decided to check the deep cave area. As they entered the passage to the deep cave area, they felt a chill down their spines. The area was complex, and the passage was like a maze. Moreover, the depth below was too deep, and on top of that, their oxygen tanks were running low. They realized that continuing would be dangerous and call for emergency rescue. The police advised them on the phone, for safety reasons, not to go back down to search. They should wait for professional divers to arrive. When the police finally arrived, the situation got worse. The 2 officers who came didn't seem very professional. They didn't even have as much diving equipment as the divers. Eventually, the police borrowed some equipment from them. The group waited on the boat for over an hour. Finally, one of the officers came back, but brought a few pieces of bad news. First, they hadn't found the missing Kukris. Based on the officer's condition, they suspected he had surfaced too quickly and developed decompression sickness. They sent him to the hospital first. An hour later, the other officer still hadn't surfaced. Judging by the oxygen tank's duration, it's likely that Kukris was not found. Instead, they ended up losing an officer as well. They called the police for help again. That the 2 officers they had sent, one ended up in the hospital. Subsequently, the police sent another group. Soon, the police found the missing officer in the shallow cave area. They saw that he was far from where the guide line was. It seemed that his line had detached, causing him to lose direction. He died when his oxygen tank ran out. Later, Kukris was found in the deepest part of the deep cave area. What was even more horrifying was that when he was found, he had a knife stuck in his body. It seemed more like he was murdered by stabbing. The police then arrested the 4 people who had gone diving with him. They were separated and interrogated one by one. They were all given lie detector tests. The results showed that 2 of them had abnormal nerve reactions when sensitive topics were brought up. However, the lie detector can only aid in investigations. Thus, the 2 were listed as key suspects by the police. Meanwhile, other officers began checking the dive recorders of the 5 divers. Wore a device that records the depth in real time during dives. Kukris had been swimming downwards the entire time, only briefly pausing in the chimney area. The records for the other 4 were exactly the same up to this point, until they signaled each other to go back. The other 3 didn't notice that Kukris didn't swim back downwards without his companion's knowledge. When he reached a depth of about 40 meters, he began to slow down a bit. it seemed he was looking for, the path to the deep cave area. He was quite lucky, and soon arrived in the deep cave area. He went straight to the deepest part, but upon reaching there, however, at around 35 meters, he began exhibiting strange behavior. He stayed there for about half an hour. Clearly, his way back was not smooth. The police speculated that Kukris may have become disoriented. Later, he remained still at a depth of 40 meters. He stayed there for about 10 minutes. During that time, he may have been thinking or contemplating something, though no one knows for sure. What can be confirmed is, afterward, his movement showed a straight downward motion. This situation suggested that was not harmed by the 3 people who dived with him, were completely different from his. Only the person who stayed alone on the boat had no recorded data. Since he didn't enter the water, he had no recordings. Could he have entered the water without a recorder? However, the investigation showed that the person alone on the boat had no signs of equipment use. There were no indications of any equipment being used or submerged. Without proper diving equipment, it would have been impossible to dive that deep to reach another diver. Some speculated that perhaps someone tampered with the recorder, but upon investigation, showed no signs of alteration or tampering. When the recorder was found, it was still intact and securely attached to Kukris. After a forensic examination, it was found that the injury's angle and direction were consistent with self-infliction. No evidence of foul play was found linking the other 4. The final conclusion was that when Kukris was running out of oxygen, he still hadn't found the exit. Realizing he might not make it out, and in a state of despair, he made the difficult decision to avoid further suffering.